Go into our very last session this morning of Dear Mr. President. I know that for a lot of people think, okay, so what do you say? This is the thing. Well, now you have an opportunity to say it. It seems as though we use the same narratives all over all the time. Oh, SHA is not working. Oh, I don't know. Capitation is not enough. I don't know. There's no public participation. Oh, the voice of the people cannot be heard. And I don't know. Are those the issues? Are those actually the issues, people? Or are those symptoms of deep, inherent, systemic issues that then need to be handled when you're asking questions? And does the buck actually stop with leadership? Do you really feel, and I think that's the question that we're asking this morning, for you to tell the president? He said, you know what, guys, he has said it in not so many words, but has basically said that I cannot be the fault or the issue behind all of these problems that you guys are talking about. We are working on it, so you guys just calm down. Does the buck actually stop with leadership? And I think that's the question that we're asking this morning in the few minutes left that we have to do. So it'll be interesting to then pick the minds of Kenyans this morning and find out if that is actually what you feel. Or do you feel that even if it's systemic, then it doesn't matter? That you can have the Holy Trinity come in and be the president. And if it's systemic, then it's going to remain. But do you think that the buck actually does stop with the person who sits in the position of the utmost leadership in the country at the moment? Does that person have the power? Does that person have the resolve? Does that person have the wherewithal to change the system? To insist on a system whereby corruption is out the window, whereby the economy is developing, whereby there's protection for the people who are working, operating, going to school within the country? Does the buck actually stop with the person at the top, or is it systemic and anybody's just going to do the best they can while they're there, and then when they're not there, to the left? Do you really feel that, as you're talking to him this morning, that actually the buck does stop with him? Because if you don't, then I think you're going to have to cut him some slack. And
I think if it's systemic and it has existed like that for a very long time, then there is fixing that needs to be there. And if we are the ones who say the buck stops with the individual who's there, yet we are the ones who are putting him there, do we ever sit down and agree on what must be done to fix the system? Because every other time we'll say SHA is not working, like you say, education is not working, capitation is not getting here, corruption is a problem, wastage continues, overtaxation is there. If the problem is the system must be fixed. Individuals that we vote in, do they have a direct express orders from 55 million of us that the system needs to be fixed, and we tax you, we task you, not
both.
tax you, where we tax you and task you to go fix the system. Because if we never have these conversations, then the individuals who get there will never see the need of fixing the system. Because remember, once you get in, the system favors the person who's in that office. Nobody ever wants to change something that removes meat from their mouth.
Very true. So then are people excused then by saying that the tone is set from the top? All these things that we like to say, the tone is set from the top, the fish rots from the head, the buck stops with you, all of those things that we say. Do we have then do we reserve the right to say those things and say, Nana, the person who is driving this bus, matatu, boat, ship, is the one who's responsible for where it takes us? Because I think about it like a matatu or whatever public service vehicle that's supposed to be going from here to there. You can switch drivers halfway into the journey. But if the driver ends up taking you somewhere, the new driver that comes in ends up taking you somewhere that was not on that board, whatever, when you left where you were coming from, ends up taking you somewhere else, whose responsibility is it? Is it the vehicle that found its way, or was somebody steering the thing that took you to Nanyuki instead of Narok, for example?
Can't blame the vehicle.
Can you blame the vehicle and say this thing was or was somebody moving the thing? Because it's a system. Gears, brakes. There's a system at the stage whereby the placard on the thing, you're next in line. Everybody now goes, right? But then halfway along the journey, you change the driver. Is it the driver who remains? Is it the driver that you will now say, excuse me, all these people have ended up in Narok. We were going to Nanyuki. Do you blame the system and say, no, but in Nairobi, when we left, we all knew where we were going. But somewhere along the line, the driver changed. So who takes responsibility for where these people ended up?
It's got to be the driver. You know why? Because when you take a plane today, right? You don't know where you're going. All you know is there is someone called the pilot and the first officer who understand the coordinates to switch everything else to land you where you're supposed to go. You don't know.
just have a ticket and a boarding pass.
You're just up there enjoying the views. You're just seeing clouds, right?
Yeah.
In the event that the pilot sleeps, it's the first officer who takes charge.
Or if you crash.
Okay, there's that too.
God forbid.
Right? So at the end of the day, you trust that the pilot will land you at your destination. If they decide to change the coordinates and take you to another station, it is because they have made that decision to take you there. Right? So
are we saying that everything that happens along that way, when this vehicle is trying to get from point A to point B, and then you change the driver or the pilot or whatever halfway, that everything that happens then is his or her fault?
Because they have taken the responsibility to ensure that you get to the destination. They swore to land you on that airport. They promised you they will take you there.
Yeah, they said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board. This is the captain, Nani
Exactly.
speaking, and we're going to on this blah blah.
Thank you. Because they have given you the promise and you trusted them to take you there, right? And this is where then, as much as people at the back will make the decision to trust them, it is their responsibility to fulfill that trust. You get what I mean? It is why before a pilot gets in, what do? They do the safety checks.
Yes, they do.
The landing gear as well.
Then they come back and tell you that all the people have done the safety checks and we're now ready for takeoff.
And
blah,
they sign
blah.
on a book.
Cross-check.
Because then they've checked on the system to say everything that will enable me fulfill your promise is okay. His responsibility is to land you. But if he goes and checks that there was
to actually take you along the way and land.
Yes. If they check that there was a hydraulic system that is broken and is leaking, if they choose then to proceed with that journey, with that fault, he did not check that the system was up to par.
To whom or with whom? Is it to whom? Hey, today was a hard day.
With whom?
With whom?
Or to whom?
With whom does the responsibility lie when we're talking about all of this? Because we've shouted this to the last few weeks. But then, see, the president, His Excellency, said the other day that I took the decision. I allowed, I did. See, then he's now taking the responsibility that everybody's been throwing at him all this time and saying the buck stops with you. When we see things going all right, it is you. It is you. So we're asking the question this morning as we speak to dear Mr. President that yes, we agree the buck stops with you, or does it not? Are there other people who are involved in this process that we should also be pointing fingers at? Because if you look at the 22 man and woman strong system that you have put in place, nominated by yourself, appointed by Parliament, and then getting into this driver's seat with you, it was you who said this is the best man or woman for the job.
Thank you.
And so they've joined you in addition to 2 or 3 advisors here or there. And you said that these are the people who are going to be able to do that. So when things go wrong in health, education, road network, the economy, boom, fires in school, I don't know, Ebola, water not flowing, infrastructure problem, corruption issues, insecurity, problems with the neighbors, global extrajudicial killings and disappearances. Knock, knock, good morning, the Standard. I don't know, we say all these things at the same time. Who do we point to? Who do we ask? Excuse me, who's driving this thing? And can we get off? That's the question. And we're saying, is it the person who's driving the thing that we're going to be asking the questions, or is it somebody else that we should be asking? And that's the question that we're asking you. We're going to take a couple of your comments in a bit, and maybe we'll take a few phone calls if we have enough time for it. But just in case, that number is 0732142650 or 0732142653. To hear from you this morning, are we fair in saying, because it's a lot, isn't it? I think about it and I say, wow, man, me, I'm the president of my house. And sometimes I feel like I'm going mad. Now, somebody's the president of, even say, the area, like the chief, and there's so many things, so many balls up in the air. Then you think, wow. Then you think, okay, somebody's the president of the constituency or the county. Then you say, wala la la la. Now you put all of those things together, plus then somebody's the president of the country, managing the things that are happening inside there, plus managing relationships that are happening regionally, continentally, globally, having to have a say. Then you must even travel. See, it's enough to make man mad. Then I think, wow, that's a lot. So is it fair that you put all of that responsibility on one person Then somebody says, see, you asked for it.
You ask for it.
You said that you can do it.
Yeah.
So then if something goes wrong,
you take responsibility.
We reserve the right of placing the responsibility on your shoulders.
Because remember, the system we're talking about here, let's take presidency, for example. He's up there, right? And everybody else, the 22-man woman cabinet that he puts in place, is the system we're talking about. There are those who are the landing gears. There are those who are the yoke. There are those who are the cabin. There are those who are the toilet where people go to use. Everything in there makes that plane move. That means if a yoke does not work, right, it is the responsibility of that captain to say, the yoke is not working. I'm unable to move. We have to fix it. That means the yoke I'm talking about is, if healthcare is not working, you look at the yoke that is not making that healthcare work, and you have to replace it or deal with it or to repair it for that healthcare to work. When we talk about Ebola, we do not want it. And the hydraulic system that makes that Ebola get into the country despite the constitution, then it is your responsibility as the captain to ensure that the hydraulic system that is leaking is fixed.
Smokey Bandit says that if the vehicle has come preloaded, it's already been uploaded, and the driver just comes in and is just driving this vehicle that has already come with certain software, then it's the vehicle's problem.
Let me tell you,
pointing to a systemic issue that needs to be handled.
But here's the thing: as the driver, the first thing you get into a vehicle when you go for testing, what are you told?
To check the thing.
Adjust your seat.
Belt
on, look at
check your rear view mirror, side mirror,
ensure you have fuel that is full, ensure that you do not have a check engine, and ensure that the vehicle basically is safe. That means you have knowledge of what it is you're driving. If it is a software problem, you must be conversant with the software that works for you to say, this software does not work for me, therefore I'm unable to drive this vehicle. You should be in a position to say, this does not work for me as the driver. But you as the driver with the software that is not working and you choose to drive it, then you and the software, same problem, same WhatsApp group, I am the admin, eject.
Well, okay, we see some calls coming in. We'll take some of them and then we'll also go to socials and see what's going on there. Should I remind you of the number? It's 0732-142-650, 0732-142-653. That you're responsible for the checks. Usually, it's crazy. I like to watch these documentaries whereby certain things happen, plane crashes, and then they look for the black box and they look for the last thing that the pilot said in terms of who's going to take responsibility for all this. It'll be interesting to see who they call at the last stop. Let's hear from some of you. We hear from James in Rongai this morning. Hello, James. Good morning.
Hi, morning.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? How was your weekend?
It was all right, James. Good to hear from you.
How is Aseto?
Aseto is in fine form this morning.
Okay.
What is your thought? Does the buck stop with the president, or do we cut him some slack?
Let me tell you, it is the issue of school unrest. Is the problem emanates from the what? From the parents. Too much parental love.
Too much love.
Parental love. You know, the moment you are loved too much at home and you go to school and there's lack of it, you know, they will start bringing their heads. You get the point? We should not be blaming the government on everything. Everything we blame the government. I think it's unfair.
So in this case, the buck does not stop with the president. The buck stops with parents to stop loving their children so much.
It is too much. But these kids, we have them. We know what they do when they are at home.
How much do you love your child that you'd let anyone lay a finger on them? Or would you allow your children to eat dirty stuff simply because you love them so much?
So you must be beaten if you're wrong. If you do something that is wrong, you must be beaten. That is the baseline. You know, you can... Hakuna mtu atakubembeleza. It's like you are to be at work at 6. You must be there. If you comply or you leave the job. That's the rule of the land.
And that when you talk about schools and being able to provide quality to students, to ensure that students are not overcrowded in facilities, that it is their right as well to have those luxuries in schools?
How do overcrowding brings an arrest in school? The issue I was told was about the musicians. Calligraph Jones was not in there.
That is not the issue in the over 50 schools that has closed. That was one school issue. But we need to look at the global issue here that a lot of students and teachers, by the way, this is not just students, are complaining about currently.
Let me tell you, the problem is not the government. Why do we blame government? Everything we blame government.
Okay, so your assertion here, James, is that the buck does not always stop with the president or the government. Okay.
It is the parent. I think it's the parental issue.
All right.
If you ask me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your comment this morning. Of course, taking a lot more from others this morning. So he says, no, in this case, the buck does not stop with the president. The buck, in this case, where we're talking about education, stops with parents. And we should then be able to take that into consideration when having these conversations. Just a few of those coming in. The people who are enablers, according to Madly Africa, and I say the way the question is framed is like you take just him into consideration and not the people who allow him to continue to do this. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing that we often do overlook, that there are people who may be telling the person who is in the driver's seat that mbele iko sawa and labda it is not sawa. Somebody may have checked and you're not going to deal with that. Somebody, you looked at them checking the oil and water and they gave you the thumbs up and you're actually saying, well, I'm going to drive this vehicle based on what you've told me. And if it's not the case, then where do we end up? So who does the buck stop with then? That's a great question or a great point, Madly African, where you say the enablers are the ones who are also giving the information that is not the case. Yep. When people have been telling you all this time that Shai iko sawa, and then the president comes and says, give them 25 billion, and munajua vizuri sana hakuna pesa. Then now he wakes up in the morning and people are saying Shai is not working and he told you to give 25 billion. Where were you when you would have told him, hey, ile imebaki ni 3 billion? Excuse me, cat got your tongue? Why couldn't you speak up then?
Mimi swali ni moja.
Moja tu.
You know, we would look at the enablers, right, who are your appointees, and you task them with advising you. But as well, you as an individual who's taking care of this ship, at the point where you hear a wheel is shaking and you're not moving in the right direction, what do? You gotta stop.
That's the question. You stop or do you continue going? Those are the questions that we asked this morning. These are the conversations that we're having. And it's been interesting to see that I'm just seeing, from what we're seeing this morning, folks don't believe that all the blame is on one person.
One person,
That this one is a shared responsibility, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us in the first conversation of the week, coming in on the week of 8th of June. Asante sana for being here in the Situation Room with us. We continue more conversations tomorrow. Have a good day. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.